As Clara and her group approached Newtown Harbor, Wyatt and the men of the composters were making their way toward Newtown's brewery. The door was open, so Wyatt stepped in and called out, "Hello." From a distance, a voice replied, "Coming. Coming. Give me a minute, please. I'll be right with you." The composter stood in the doorway, looking around at the numerous barrels, both metal and wooden, with pipes running everywhere, listening to footsteps clattering down the metal stairs. After about 3 minutes, a man with mousy brown hair ran into the room. Leaning against a pillar, he quietly said, "Give me a moment." I was on the 4th floor. The 4 pilots exchanged amused glances, waiting for the older man to catch his breath. Finally, he straightened up and looked at the 4 men in front of him. He immediately recognized Wyatt, and then noticed that the other 3 were dressed in the uniforms of Principality fighter pilots. Standing fully, he said, "Sorry for the delay, my lords. I was preparing to load a brew tub. How can I help?" Wyatt winced at the "my lord" comment but let it slide. After all, there were now 4 nobles in the room, and he couldn't fault the man for being polite. "My fellow pilots and I have never actually seen the inside of a brewery, though we have all enjoyed a glass or two," Wyatt said. "When I mentioned that we had a brewery here in Newtown, they all expressed a desire to visit and see how one worked. I was wondering if you could show us around." "Of course, sir," the man replied. "My name is Jeff. If you like, I can show you the process. I was just about to start creating a small test batch of beer. You could, if you like, see not just the brewery, but the start of the brewing process as well." Wyatt looked at his fellow pilots, who nodded enthusiastically. "Thank you, Jeff. That sounds like an excellent idea. Please lead the way." Jeff slowly guided them up to the 4th floor, explaining that above them was a water tower and the storage for malted barley. Then he demonstrated the start of the process. Here, the barley is fed by gravity into the mill. This cracks the malted grains, exposing the starches which drop into the tank below. They move down a floor. Here we add warm water from our well to the cracked grains in this vessel, which we call a tun. This turns the starch in the grain into sugar. Then the hot liquid drops down another level. Leopold asked, "What do you do with all the waste?" Jeff looked at him and replied, "There is no waste, sir. The mash, the solid that remains, can be baked for human consumption, used directly for animal feed, or turned into compost while collecting biogas. We don't have facilities for the last option here, though." On the 2nd floor, they saw large, vaguely onion-shaped copper vessels with pipes leading from the floor above. Jeff continued, "Here, the warm, sugary liquid gets heated in the kettle, and we add hops for flavor and bitterness. Once boiled, the liquid is sterile and sent through a cooler to the next process below." On the 1st floor, the composters saw large metal cylinders. Jeff explained, "Here we add yeast to the cooled liquid, which turns sugar into alcohol. Different yeast types produce different beers. One floats on top for ales, another sinks for lagers. By adjusting the mix of barley, hops, yeast, and occasionally other ingredients, we control beer type, taste, and alcohol content. Then it passes through a strainer and goes to barrels or bottles. Wooden barrels add richness. Everything you've seen so far happens on the ground floor. Downstairs, we have a cool cellar with beer samples and other alcoholic beverages you could try." As Wyatt and the composters walked away, he reflected on what he had learned. Jeff's brewery could produce not just beer, but cider, fruit-flavored alcohols, and spirits. He remembered his promise never to get as drunk as before. When Javier Wonder arrived at the tasting, Wyatt had only sampled each beverage lightly. Yet, commenting on the smooth apple brandy led Jeff to fetch a 12-year-old aged bottle from the brewery cellar. As they prepared to leave, Jeff asked Wyatt about the brewery's new name. Newtown Brewery didn't feel right. Walking back toward the beach, Wyatt considered suggestions from Leopold and Noller. Leopold tapped his shoulder shield. The White Pitten Brewery. Gregor shook his head. Noller added, "That's worse than Newtown Brewery." "You said there are white deer here, Wyatt?" Wyatt nodded. "Huge ones with enormous antlers." "Then how about the White Stag Brewery?" suggested Noller. Silence fell as they walked. Finally Gregor said, "There's an old term for a big male deer, hart, pronounced the same, but spelled without the E. How about the Wittert Brewery?" Wyatt liked it. Noller agreed. Leopold suggested, "Include a picture of one of those big white deer on the bottles to signify quality and origin." Wyatt smiled. "I know just the person who could draw it." When Clara and her party arrived at the harbor, she saw Declan Oakmoon waiting for her. Clara looked at the young man and said, "Sir Declan, I did not expect to see you here." Sir Declan bowed politely. "Your Royal Highness expressed a desire to spend some time on the beach. I hope that on behalf of my lord, I have provided the best experience Newtown can currently offer. My staff and I have arranged the best shade and windbreaks we could find, along with some basic beach furniture at a suitable distance from the harbor for peace. I have organized local auxilia to ensure you are not overlooked or interrupted. The humble restaurant behind me has been freshly cleaned, and the best performing auxilia private is stationed inside for additional security. Finally, I believe we can provide your Royal Highness and guests with an evening meal if you wish to stay for the sunset." Clara smiled. "The sunset, Sir Declan. Do you believe it is worth seeing?" "Your Baron has not mentioned them," Declan admitted, flushing slightly. "Well," Clara said, "we cannot miss such an opportunity. By all means, make the arrangements so we can enjoy the setting sun. But first, let us see what you have prepared so far." Inside the restaurant, Private Lily Bauer stood rigidly to attention. The staff had all taken a knee, waiting in line, as were the cleaners. The dusty odor from earlier had vanished, replaced by a light, fragrant scent of spring. Bare metal on door handles gleamed, and the glass was nearly crystal clear. Fresh flowers were displayed on the counter. Clara motioned to the staff to rise. "I am very sorry to have inconvenienced you," she said. "I am certain you have far more important things to do than prepare for my impromptu visit." The staff quickly assured her it was no inconvenience. Clara noticed the flowers. "Who did this display?" A young cleaner raised her hand. "I did, Your Royal Highness." "Did I do anything wrong?" "No, my dear," Clara said warmly. "You did everything perfectly." "Who taught you?" "My mother, Your Royal Highness. She always said real flowers cheer people up." "And your name?" Clara asked. "Why work as a cleaner when you have such talent?" "My name is Anna, Your Royal Highness. My school said I had no skills, so I had to work as a cleaner." Clara hid her annoyance at the injustice of that, thinking of Wyatt's contempt for nobility. "And the proprietor of this restaurant?" she asked. James stepped forward. "That would be me, Your Royal Highness. James Sicklehorn." Dressed in proper chef attire, he wore a clean white apron and hat, with a cloth tucked at his waist for wiping hands. "Tell me, Mr. Sicklehorn," Clara asked, "what do you think of Anna's flowers? Do they make the restaurant more inviting, or are they just decoration?" Summoning his courage, James said, "With the greatest respect, Your Royal Highness, I think her school was wrong. She has made the place look wonderful, not just here, but above the hand basins in both sets of toilets." Clara smiled. "You've caused no offense. Her school failed to recognize her true talent. I also believe that if you were here, your new Baron would insist on correcting this. We have 2 town council members present. One is an expert on local plants. Lady Rachel, Miss Elizabeth, do you think Anna should continue as a cleaner or focus on flower displays for public spaces?" Rachel and Elizabeth exchanged glances. Finally, Lady Rachel said, "Her talent is probably more valuable than cleaning. Many restaurants would appreciate her skills." Elizabeth added, "Once the estate's farm is secure, greenhouses could benefit from flowers for pollinators, which talented florists could manage. Clara nodded. Anna made an important point. While skilled in floristry, her financial knowledge may be limited. Perhaps some bookkeepers among her fellow former prisoners could assist. Rachel curtly nodded. Of course, Your Royal Highness. Turning back to James, Clara asked, Master Sicklehorn, it's suggested we stay for the sunset and that the best view is from your terrace. Can you provide dinner for my guests and me? James swallowed nervously. Your Royal Highness, Sir Declan mentioned if I agreed, other restaurants would contribute. I cannot promise a royal feast, but we can produce a tasty meal for everyone. A sensible answer, Clara said. There will be 14 to 16 for dinner. Now may we use your facilities to change for the beach? As the cleaners prepared the terrace, James and his staff returned to the kitchen, uncertain about what had just occurred. Lily maintained guard at the entrance. Cynthia, Rachel, Raquel, Elizabeth, and Clara changed into bikinis and beach wraps, each finding a hat and sunglasses within the boxes Clara had brought. Clara turned to Declan. Once the evening meal is arranged, please locate your lord and ask him and his companions to join us on the beach. You are also invited. Beachwear is in one of the unopened boxes. Declan, stunned, stammered, yes, Your Royal Highness. Of course. On the beach, the sunshades and windbreaks had been positioned to hide everyone unless approached directly from the sea. Cynthia commented, Sir Declan is both thoughtful and competent. The ladies sat on inflatable furniture, gently bouncing as laughter filled the air. Clara said, For today, let us pretend I am not a princess. Titles are a pain. Let us be Clara, Cynthia, Elizabeth, Rachel, and Raquel, 5 young women, enjoying the beach. Cynthia inhaled sharply. Clara smiled gently. The only reason I am a princess is an accident of birth. I intend to enjoy myself here, but first, I would like your opinions on my night banneret. Wyatt Staples. As Clara and the ladies settled on the beach furniture, Wyatt and the composters were making their way toward the harbor. Wyatt pointed out various restaurants and structures along the way, potential points of interest for future visits. At one street corner, they encountered an unusual scene. Declan and 4 of his servants were struggling to fit an enormous table onto a small electric vehicle. Wyatt watched for a few moments before saying, Come on, let's lend a hand. Otherwise, we may be here all week. With Wyatt and the composters helping, Declan managed to balance the table across the rear of the vehicle, while 2 of his men used ratchet straps to secure it. Wyatt asked, What's the plan, Declan? My lord, Declan replied, Princess Clara requested that a large number of people, including you and the composters, join her for dinner on the terrace overlooking the beach. This table should seat everyone invited. Wyatt suspected Clara had a joke in mind, but he kept quiet. The harbor restaurant is limited in its ability to produce a royal feast, Wyatt noted. Since you've organized everything, how do you plan to solve that? Declan seemed only slightly concerned. I intend to visit every restaurant and ask them to contribute at least 1 dish sufficient for 16 people. I will also source table linens, crockery, glasses, and matching cutlery. We can arrange a buffet rather than a formal dinner. Wyatt nodded, adding, Yesterday, when we removed the final kitchen equipment, a lot of brand new crockery and cutlery came with it. Use that. He turned to his fellow composters. Let's see what Her Royal Highness needs us to do. It's a nice day, we can help get the table off the truck when we arrive. At the harbor restaurant, they helped Declan's men move the table onto the terrace, stabilizing it. Declan's servants went to collect the chairs. Marie Athcram soon emerged from the restaurant, carrying a tray of homemade ice cream cones. She called to the 4 young men. Excuse me, sir, may I have your opinion? This is the first batch made with local milk. Flavors are light vanilla, apple, and cookies and cream. The cones are freshly made. 5 minutes later, all 4 young men were eating ice cream, watching the waves. Wyatt started the conversation. These are good, aren't they? Made with deer milk, no less. Gregor nodded. Very rich taste. Not like ordinary ice cream aboard the ship. The cookie bits are excellent. Noller added, I love the apple pieces in mine. How did they manage that? Leopold was too busy devouring his own ice cream to comment. After finishing, he said, It's very nice, but why are we here? I doubt I'll meet a beautiful woman on this deserted beach. The composters laughed at his comment. A clear voice from behind asked, And what are we, Sir Leopold? Haspens and old leftovers? 3 composters spun around in shock, but Leopold froze, trying to think of something not fatal to say. I meant no insult, Your Royal Highness, he stammered. I had no idea you were so close. Realizing he was digging deeper, he added quickly, Not that I would ever consider. Raquel's voice cut in, amused. Why, Clara, I do believe Leo is lost for words. What a surprise. Everyone laughed. Leopold's face turned red. Cynthia called out, You may turn around, Sir Leopold. Your head will remain attached for now. Slowly, he turned to see the 5 young women in front of him. Each wore an off-white wrap dress, slit to the waist to reveal one thigh. Wide-brimmed hats, sunglasses, and simple sandals. Cynthia held her sword across her shoulders. Leopold's jaw dropped until Noller nudged it closed. Wyatt, stunned, held onto the table edge, afraid to faint. Clara addressed the group. For today, while we are on the sand, there will be no titles. Declan Oakmoon and dinner guests will only use first names. Enjoy this day off. Even Cynthia laughed, and the ladies moved toward Wyatt. Really, Clara? But we aren't dressed for it, Wyatt said. Clara smiled. Did you think I would bring beach outfits for myself and the ladies and ignore you gentlemen? Check the entrance box for yours. Use the restaurant toilets as a changing room. Then leave a note for Declan to suit up and join us. Wyatt found Private Bauer standing at attention in the restaurant area. He nodded, then entered the kitchen. More ice cream? He asked Marie. Yes, sir. Plenty more, and I can make additional batches if needed. Wyatt instructed. Deliver some to the ladies on the terrace and give Lily a snack. Lily looked surprised. Sir, that's unnecessary. I'm fine. Wyatt smiled. A good officer ensures their team is properly fed. Your team is spread out, but this is for you. He outlined the plan. Once the food is arranged, the staff will rest, then help serve dinner. Lily saluted. Wyatt opened the composter bags, finding hats, sunglasses, bright shirts, swim shorts, and sandals. He changed, placing his pistol safely in the bag. Returning to the terrace, he saw Lily smiling discreetly. Not a word, he whispered. She nodded. He joined the others, and the composters laughed, soon changing into their outfits. Wyatt observed the beach, feeling the warm sun on his back. A few minutes later, Cynthia approached him, embarrassed. It wasn't my idea. Clara decided we needed a day off. Wyatt looked at the sea. I understand that, but why first names only? And on the beach? Cynthia whispered. Clara wanted everyone to speak freely, see how everyone is doing. It's easier with beachwear and no titles. Less formal, more honest. Wyatt laughed. I never expected to have a noble friend, let alone a princess of House Astor. I can't wait to see how Declan handles the no titles rule. He never calls me Wyatt. Always my lord. The ladies approached, Clara smiling. The composters returned, now dressed, completing the group. When Declan arrived 30 minutes later, Lily repeated Wyatt's instructions. Declan changed and walked up to the beach. Your Royal Highness Declan Oakmoon. Report in as requested, he said politely. A bean bag hit him in the chest. Wyatt looked up. Ah, Declan, you got the message. And I see you found the outfit Clara picked. More bean bags followed. Wyatt explained. Clara has declared first names only for today, while on the beach. Declan's protests were met with laughter as more beanbags flew. Clara said, "Declan, we need you to make up the numbers. 5 women, 4 men, we need 1 more." Wyatt knew there was more to it than Clara said, but a slow wink confirmed it was safe. Declan accepted his role, enjoying the playful chaos. For the next 3 hours, they played beach games. Beanbags were lobbed toward targets, races ran down the sand, and swimming competitions began. Clara surprised everyone by winning the race down the beach. Declan came in second. Cynthia and Wyatt excused themselves from swimming, citing personal reasons. When the group returned to the sand, Wyatt asked Cynthia, "You can't swim?" "I can, but need a buoyancy aid," she admitted. "My body density is high. Without it, I sink." "You?" Wyatt sighed. "I never learned. Normally, I would have gone with school friends." They watched the group swim back. Rachel reaching the beach first, Leopold and Elizabeth tied for second. Gregor at the rear dot during quiet moments. Elizabeth sketched the group. Around 4 p.m., Cynthia suddenly shot upright. "You are not going to believe this," she said. Running down the beach came Jinsho, dressed only in tiny Speedos. He paddled in the sea for 10 minutes, blissfully unaware of the onlookers. Returning to the beach, Jinsho shook off water, Wyatt offering a towel. "I didn't know Yakanti could swim." "Some learn, not many," Jinsho replied. "Warm day, good for short break." Dinner later. Wyatt laughed. "Enjoy your break, Jinsho. You're joining us for dinner, so relax for now." The sun began its slow descent, painting the horizon in streaks of gold and crimson. The group, now spread across the soft sand, lounged on towels and beach chairs, savoring the warmth and the sound of waves gently crashing. Clara reclined on her chair, her wide-brimmed hat shading her face. She watched the composters interact with the ladies, laughing at their playful teasing and competitive banter from the earlier games. Wyatt stretched on a towel nearby, glancing at the water. "I still can't believe Clara beat everyone in the sprint," he said quietly to Cynthia. Cynthia smirked. "I told you, don't underestimate her. She might be a princess, but she's tough as nails." "Yet polite enough to let Declan win the second race," Wyatt added with a laugh. "Declan?" "Win?" Cynthia laughed. "He didn't win, Wyatt. He's just delicate." Across the sand, Rachel and Elizabeth were building a small sandcastle fortress. Leopold had reluctantly joined, grumbling at the effort. "I don't understand why we're building castles. Aren't we adults?" Rachel glanced up. "We are, but adults sometimes need a little childlike fun. Helps with morale." Leopold muttered something under his breath, but secretly began shaping a turret. Wyatt couldn't help but chuckle at the scene. Meanwhile, Jinsho lounged near the water, drying off under the sun. He looked serene, completely at ease, while the rest of the group remained wrapped up in conversations, laughter, and quiet observations. Declan, finally taking his turn to relax, carefully unfolded his chair beside Clara. He tipped his hat politely. "Your Highness, may I join you?" Clara smiled warmly. "Of course, Declan. No titles today, remember?" "Very well, Clara," he replied, settling into his chair. "Thank you." Wyatt noticed how Clara's demeanor softened when speaking with Declan. "Interesting," he muttered to Cynthia. "There's more going on there than I can see." Cynthia shrugged. "Clara is clever. She knows what she's doing. Don't overthink it." As the evening drew closer, the group gathered to watch the sunset. The sky transformed into a tapestry of oranges, purples, and deep reds. Wyatt, Cynthia, and Clara stood at the water's edge, the waves lapping at their feet. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Clara said softly. Wyatt nodded. "It really is. Makes all the trouble we've faced worth it." Clara turned, her gaze meeting his. "It's more than just the scenery, Wyatt. It's the people, the moments we share. Days like this. They remind us why we fight, why we endure. Wyatt felt a rare moment of calm, a sense of connection he hadn't experienced in years. He looked out at the horizon again. I understand, Clara, more than you know. From the sand, laughter erupted. Leopold and Gregor had been caught in a playful tug-of-war over a beach towel. With Rachel and Elizabeth cheering them on, Clara smiled, shaking her head. They never change, do they? Nope, Wyatt said with a grin. And that's exactly why we need days like this. To remind ourselves that we're still human, or composters, or whatever we are. Cynthia laughed softly. Even warriors need moments like these. The sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the beach. The gentle sea breeze carried the scent of salt and the faint aroma of the nearby harbor restaurants preparing for dinner. The day was winding down, but the warmth and camaraderie lingered. A perfect pause before evening festivities. Clara stood and clapped her hands lightly. All right, everyone, time to get ready for dinner. Declan has arranged a feast, and I believe we all deserve it. The group stretched, gathered their belongings, and slowly made their way up the terrace. Declan was already organizing the table, ensuring every dish was perfectly placed. Every utensil aligned. Wyatt noticed the meticulous care Declan took, and despite the playful chaos earlier, he respected the man's dedication. As the first stars appeared in the twilight sky, the group settled at the table. Laughter and conversation filled the air. The day's games and shared moments translating into easy camaraderie around the feast. Clara raised her glass. To friends, to laughter, and to days we'll never forget. Everyone echoed the toast. Wyatt looked around the table, seeing the smiles, the light in their eyes, and felt a deep sense of gratitude. Despite the battles, the missions, and the hardships ahead, moments like these made everything worthwhile. The waves crashed gently against the shore, the first stars twinkled above. And the black ship and her companions shared a rare evening of peace, joy, and human connection.